Gates.
Okay, good morning, everybody. Welcome to our second Talk Tuesday of the 23-24 school year. We are so happy that you're joining us today. We got some great content and learning experience we're about to get into, but we do thank you for taking the time to be with us. Just for today's agenda, and again, welcome, I'm Christine Kilman from CERC, the State Education Resource Center. I'm here with my colleagues, Stephen Prophet, Anne-Marie Cordisco, and Elisa Ladati. I'm also here with our CSDE colleagues and partners, Kari Sullivan-Custer and Jay Brown. Today we have a great presentation on attendance awareness campaign, School is Better with You. We're so happy that Caroline Calhoun can join us from EdAdvance. She really focuses on the LEAP coordination piece, but we are also joined today by Nicole Lenti, who's the Group Director of Strategy from the O'Donnell Company. I'm going to wrap things up too with just some quick upcoming attendance and engagement meetings and updates just to keep you all in the loop. We're just going to quickly go over the CSDE Superintendent's Digest. And again, the QR code is embedded in the slide, so you can access that along with the link. And again, it is a little lengthy because we're starting out this school year. I have some repeats from last week in case somebody missed something, but I'll go through them rather quickly to you, just to be aware of the Commissioner's Back to School meeting and some tidbits that she mentioned within there. There's also the components of the social, emotional, intellectual habits for kindergarten through grade 12 document. Looking to see if your district's contacts with CSDE is updated. So kind of check out that link just to make sure. We do have a press release. Connecticut sees improvements on attendance. Yay. That is very good news. And also that sorry about that. So also that the press release, with math and science scores as well. CSDE also launched the 3-6 English Language Arts Model Curriculum as well. Going through September, just some highlights here too, the State Board of Education's 5-year draft plan. There is some comments they're looking for if you'd like to submit. Also, there is a link for the Performance Matters Forum if you're interested. It is just a great time for people to come together as districts and colleagues and talk and learn about information and share. So I would definitely advise you to take a look at that link. And then the grant expenditure dashboard on EdSite is public. We also have the Connecticut guidelines to view of the Educator and Leader Evaluation Support of 2023. And there's also Commissioner's memo that's attached to that. Celebrate the National Adult Education and Family Literacy Week. And then there's a call for Connecticut educators to apply to participate in Smarter Balance item reviews and ELA and math. There's some qualifications and the application process that goes with that. Some internet safety training on behalf of the U.S. Attorney General's office. So if you would like to take a look at that as well, because we talk about that a lot, about cyber safety. And then the FAFSA data sharing agreement is expiring soon. And finally, just realizing it is Hispanic Heritage Month, and there is a playlist attached to that as well. The FAFSA Challenge Schools show significant gains. We have some national blue ribbon schools and information on the EdSite dashboard. And then also using digital platforms to progress and change. And we want to recognize kind of that as well. And then just requesting that waiver for the Connecticut approved K-3 reading curriculum models or programs. I know a lot of districts are very invested in this. So there's some information there that you can tap into. There's the CAP, Connecticut Automated Admissions Program. There's an update to that. And then dual credit grants are awarded. I know that was kind of a lot, but because of the beginning of the school year, I really wanted you to have access to a lot of different information and kind of point you to the resources there. So I'm now going to turn this part over to Kari Sullivan-Custer, who can give us some updates on the attendance and engagement end with CSDE. Kari?
Thank you. Hi, everyone. I'm Kari Sullivan-Custer, and I work on attendance, engagement, and LEAP. And I welcome you here to our second Talk Tuesday of the year. As Christine said, we're going into our 4th year of Talk Tuesdays. If you're new here, welcome. Talk Tuesdays is sort of an informal opportunity for all of us together get together and talk attendance, right? And to highlight and feature bright spots, what's happening in some districts, what's new at the state level. What Christine just went through was a superintendent's digest, which was really, really important when we started this at the beginning of the pandemic, because so many new directions and guidance were coming out. And so we want to just make sure that we bring this to you so you don't have to go look for it every things are posted on Tuesdays and Mondays and Thursdays. So we bring it to you so that we can make sure you have it. If you don't have a chance to check the link, is there for you. And I see lots of familiar faces, and I met so many of you at the Igniting Change and the Back to School conferences. So it's exciting to see you here again back for this new school year. So I usually always start out with data. And unfortunately, we showed data at the last meeting. I can say that our chronic absence rates went down last year from 23.7 to 20% as a state. More than 70%, I think, of our districts saw a decrease in chronic absence last year. And we saw a decrease in chronic absence in every one of our student groups, although they are still way too high, some of them in the 30s, and our homeless youth, which we know is very concerning. Chronic absence rates are hovering around 50%. So I encourage you to work with those families and students with high needs to address issues that why they're not coming to school. And so today I wanted to start with one of my favorite attendance work slides, which we use in our presentations with districts and at conferences. So if you go to the next slide, how many of you remember this slide? This is the 4 buckets for why students are missing school, understanding the reasons behind the absences. So it's really important when we tackle attendance that we make sure we understand these reasons. And so behind all of that data, Attendance Works and their research has said there are 4 buckets. There's barriers, which we know are those chronic and acute illnesses keep kids to school, and that's happening right now. That's real. We need to know that and understand it. There's aversion, there's social and peer challenges, anxiety, biased disciplinary and suspension practices. There's disengagement, lack of challenging, culturally responsive. They're just bored. They've kind of gotten out of the habit of going to school, and it's really hard to get those habits back again after so much time during COVID. And misconceptions about absences are only a problem if they're unexcused. Well, we know that's not true, because every absence is a missed opportunity for learning. And the more we emphasize that unexcused absences are bad, the more families feel like it's okay, it's an excused absence to be out of school, because we want to, because of so much illness, we want to minimize all those other reasons kids aren't coming to school, so that when they are ill, they haven't already missed too many days. And so take a look at these. Every district who has a chronic absence rate of 10% or higher is required by state law to have a district attendance team. And I can tell you that that is pretty much all of our districts other than a handful. You are required to have a district attendance team. So I encourage you to look at your data, but to think about these buckets behind your data and why students are absent. And if you're a school, you're required to have a school attendance team if you have a chronic absence rate of 15% or higher. And so these are the types of things you should be considering when you look at your data. Next slide, please. And why this is important is because then you can take and align those interventions for the reasons for the absences. So if it's anxiety that you're finding students are missing too much school, you may want to enlist trusted messengers to talk with families about health and safety, or have a student meet with their school counselor, or connect them with a school-based health center for mental health services. If they're disengaged, there's some suggestions here about exploring after-school programs or sports. You're going to hear more from our presentation regarding the campaign of why families say their students are missing school. And so I encourage you to think about absences and data and consider the reasons behind the root causes, and how are your interventions aligning to those root causes, and how are you measuring the impact of those interventions. So I just kind of wanted to start today with just a little share of some of my favorite resources from Attendance Works. So another resource for you, next slide, please, is the LEAP Effect. It's a new publication. It's a brief that was written by Connecticut State Department of Education with Attendance Works, CREC, and EdAdvance. That is the story behind LEAP, the Learner Engagement Attendance Program, which many of you know is our home visiting program. It targets tier 2 families who are missing too much school. It's relational. It's not punitive. And so I give you the link, the short URL to go to the LEAP page is here. There's a video on LEAP, and there is the evaluation of LEAP that shows the impact. And the next slide will show you that we are offering LEAP training for all districts. You don't have to have a LEAP grant to attend LEAP training. We know many districts are doing home visits without a LEAP grant using other resources, IDEA or Title IV, ESSER funds. And so please sign up for the upcoming presentations if you have home visitors in your district. Last week, we had one that we had a waiting list because 200 people had signed up for it. And so it's in demand. So I encourage you to research LEAP, and hopefully you can come to one of our trainings or your staff. Anybody have any questions about LEAP or the reasons behind absences? We're going to hear more about the reasons behind absences and how we're helping to message schools, helping to message to families about the importance of being in school every day, and to students, because many times the older students make their own minds up about whether or not they're going to come to school. So next slide, please. But this is one last resource. I forgot about this. Is the U.S. Department of Education just released this resource, Raise the Bar, resources for parents and families. I don't see a link. So if you Google Raise the Bar resources for parents and families, you'll find this new resource that they have provided.
I believe, Kari, the link is embedded in the slide. So when they go over it, it should then go right into the article.
Okay, great. Thank you. And the next slide, I think, is the transition slide. Okay. Want me to do this, Christine?
Yeah, go right ahead, sure.
Okay, so I'm really excited to introduce our attendance awareness campaign for 23-24 school year. It's called School is Better with You. And our partners at CSD on this work is Caroline Calhoun, who is at EdAdvance, and Nicole Lente, who's the group director for strategy at O'Donnell Company. And so they're going to go through the process and share with you the collateral and materials and a toolkit for things that you can use in your district to promote the importance of attendance. I'll turn it over to Caroline.
Thank you so much, Kari. Good morning, everybody. My name is Caroline Calhoun. As Kari mentioned, I am a professional learning and attendance specialist at EdAdvance. We are the Northwest Corner Regional Educational Service Center, one of the RESCs in the state. My background is actually in 20 years of elementary teaching. So I come to you with a background in teaching 5th and 6th grade humanities, primarily language arts and social studies integrated. I just left the classroom 2 years ago, and my work at the RESC has really focused on a lot to do with attendance, and I work as the LEAP co-coordinator with my colleague Francisco Baires at CREC. And what I love about doing this attendance work, and I know there are friends on here from Middletown and Hartford and also from Norwich who've heard me say this before, but the beauty of working on attendance and engagement is that it really is the intersection of everything we do as educators. So all of the wonderful initiatives that we undertake and all of the passionate educators we hire, none of it is really going to make a difference if our students aren't showing up to school and engaging in the learning process. So it is my pleasure to have been working alongside Kari and the O'Donnell Company, doing a host of work in the background to do with attendance awareness messaging for our families, for educators, for students themselves. EdAdvance has played a role in our small but mighty communications team. My colleagues Ahmed Malik and Devana Dione couldn't be with us today, but they have done a lot of work in the background over the last few years to do with attendance awareness, creating print materials, doing some social media campaign, content creation. But we really wanted to scale up the efforts across the state. So CSDE, EdAdvance, and O'Donnell Company collaborated for this particular campaign. And I can't tell you the creativity behind the scenes with Nicole and Shantae and Julia and their whole team has been really incredible to watch it unfold. And I hope you all enjoy the results. You'll start to see billboards across the state. You'll be hearing radio spots. There will be TV snippets and just lots and lots of resources for you all to take advantage of as districts. So we're happy to announce that the website for this is going live, and you should be starting to see this messaging really all over the place. So without further ado, I would like to introduce Nicole Lenti, the Director of Strategy, and her colleagues Julia Fishman and Shantae Rose, who are going to walk through everything to do with this campaign so that you all have a sense of how it originated, where it came from, the rationale and research behind it, and then think about how it can help you as it rolls out.
Awesome. Thank you very much. Excited to be here, and we're excited to share this with everyone. So we will jump right in. We are super excited, as Caroline says, really to discuss the whole campaign and the thought process behind it, and really hope that this is a great conversation to see ideas that you all have of how we can spread this even further and continue to get the message for attendance out. So overall, for the campaign, we really want to increase awareness of chronic absenteeism. And by doing this, we want to let families as well as teens know how important it is to attend school in person every day and the benefits they can receive socially, emotionally, and of course, academically. And our primary audiences are parents, grandparents, and caregivers, as well as the high school students. As Kari mentioned, if we're looking at 12th graders, it's going to be up to them if they're going to school or not. So how can we kind of help? Also, we want the campaign to be used by school staff, community organizations, all of you. So we will be providing tools for that purpose.
And I'll walk us through the research. The goal of our research was really to gain deeper insight into what students and families are going through and why they're not attending school on a regular basis. We conducted interviews with subject matter experts, reviewed a wealth of existing data, and we also distributed digital surveys to parents and caregivers of kids who are in K-12. We had a terrific response to this survey. More than 5,400 digital survey responses were received, both in English and Spanish, and it was a representative mix from across the state. And as we've been discussing a little bit already this morning, we know that there are many more barriers to attending school than ever before. We heard about chronic illnesses, like I said, asthma, COVID, concerns about, some of the really scary things that have happened in schools around the country. We also, definitely heard about family obligations and other things that are taxing families and making things difficult. And overall, there's really been a shift in social norms since COVID, and in-person school is really just not perceived as being as important as it once was. Add to that, there's confusion about when to keep kids home. Many families are struggling with different issues. And if a parent is already working from home, it's easier to keep a child at home too. All of these barriers can also differ depending, of course, on the age of the student and the culture of the family and the situation. So we know that there's a lot of attendance issues in kindergarten and first grade and 11th and 12th grade. In many other cultures, kindergarten is not a thing. And if it is, it's not full-time or considered necessary. Some of the littlest children going into school right now really had a lack of socialization because of COVID and didn't have any preschool experiences. And parents are definitely more sensitive because of COVID. With 11th and 12th graders, they have attended virtual school longer. When there was a time when coming to school just wasn't as necessary and not prioritized, and at points just wasn't even possible. We've also got older students who are working to support family members. And then there's bullying, anxiety, mental health issues, sometimes even staying home to take care of younger children in the family. But no matter what anybody's age or background, there are many benefits to attending in person every day. Daily routines are the key to success. There are social and emotional benefits and a sense of belonging and being part of a larger community. There are support services in school, free meals, healthcare, mental health support. There's fun, there's activities, friends, recess. And, the need to show up really begins in adolescence in order to prepare people for life, for jobs, college, etc. Chronic absenteeism, we know, can have long-term impacts on students' health, their academic achievement, graduation rates, and even long-term poverty. So our messaging approach. O'Donnell Company uses 10 key components of behavior change in all phases of campaign work. Some of the more relevant components are to map out behaviors, barriers and benefits, like we just talked about. And we also know really critically that typically we get 1 second to buy 3 seconds of someone's time and attention. So our creative needs to be compelling and grab audiences quickly. We need to connect with the audience. We need to identify with them and gain their trust to get them to take an action. That's particularly important for this project. We know that people have a need for belonging. We know that school can be an inclusive and stabilizing force. And we wanted to really focus on school as a positive place to be and to support, and to kind of bring the audience in with those messages. And we really wanted to connect on values. Everybody wants to have a successful future. So our campaign approach leverages our behavior change methodology to provide positive messages about education to help evolve Connecticut resident behaviors and attitudes towards school attendance. And now I'll turn it over to Shantae.
Thank you, Julia. And now let's take a look at some of this great creative. So as Julia mentioned, she talked a bit about our campaign approach and leveraging the behavior change methodology and those 10 components of behavior change that she talked about earlier. So supportive headlines are very positive for this campaign. The kids are a range of ages, including our two most challenging areas, which are kindergarten and first grade, and then later on in high school. And as you can see here, we want to make sure that we have messaging in both English as well as Spanish, and that is specifically to reach our families in language. And these are the toolkit materials, a flyer for parents, and also a poster. With the flyer, we really wanted to emphasize just how many days are too many, with quick tip call outs for so that parents are able and come away with key messaging. And the poster is also in both English and Spanish, as well as a QR code that connects directly to the website for this campaign. And I'll hand it back over to Nicole.
Thanks. So that's just a sample of some of the creative that you'll see both during in the campaign and then also in the toolkit for your use as well. We are looking at a number of media channels across the next 2 months, both from English language perspective, as well as Spanish and other languages as well. So we're going to look at, Portuguese and Polish. The toolkit elements will be in those as well, but making sure that the message is reached by all the languages or the majority of the languages that are spoken in Connecticut. So we have, we're going to have channels across social media. So Facebook and Instagram and Snapchat and TikTok and LinkedIn. We'll have streaming audio and radio, broadcast TV, as well as streaming TV, digital banners, local newspapers, especially in language as well, billboards, and then bus signage and shelters. We wanted to really look at the different media channels to see how we can reach the audience through a number of different means. We want to make sure that we're hitting them a number of times. There's a stat that you need to see a message or hear a message 10 times before it actually sinks in, especially now with our constant scrolling daily lives. So we want to make sure that we are looking at all different channels. So again, across social, across digital, and then physical pieces as well. And we're working with our partner, the Latino Way, on a number of the Spanish elements so that we can make sure that everything is in language. Apologize for my voice. Sorry, I don't normally sound this terrible. So the important part, really how we can spread the word, our media campaigns and PR and things that we do will only go so far. So how can we really work with all of you as well as others to spread the word on this important campaign? First and foremost, please follow us on any of the CSDE social links, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn. And then, as we mentioned, we do have the website that is live that hopefully I will be able to pull over in a second. So you can see, still a little bit of a work in progress, but we wanted to make sure that it was live for today so that anybody can go to ct.gov/betterwithyou, and you'll be able to see this specific page with elements. So both from a consumer perspective as well as a stakeholder perspective, we'll be pushing people here with all of our messaging. So the first point, anybody can link to this and be able to find their attendance liaison. Also answers, we wanted to make sure that we had kind of an FAQ so that anybody can really find out more information about the important topics of attendance, of chronic absenteeism, to help them learn more and hopefully help them get their kids into school. And then the toolkit, again, we will have a number of elements that are on this page, and all these pieces are able for you to download so that you can use in your own communications. And then there are a number of resources, again, on the bottom, contact information, go back to this TED Talk Tuesday, to AttendanceWorks, to LEAP, and lots of other information that we'll be including on this page as well. So really, this online toolkit is going to grow and will include everything from the media campaign, and that will have social posts, banner ads, videos, a lot of things that you've seen, but also a lot more that we're continuing to create. So really, how could these benefit and how could you use them? A few ideas that we had on our side, being able to add any of this to your school website. Is there a communication that goes out to parents and caregivers to be able to include a little bit about this program or the link to the website? Being able to like and post or reshare elements for the social channels. Sharing is a great way to be able to extend the life of our messaging to your audiences as well as others. Are there ways to display any of these at school so people understand and know the importance of this, sharing with PTAs or athletic associations for distribution, as well as during faculty or staff meetings? Again, just the awareness that these elements exist that everybody can use. And then another way is, students are also a great way to spread the word, especially if they have other siblings or for their peers, especially when we get into the high school age. How do we really get this message out there that it is still important to attend school and all the things that you would be missing and that school would be missing if you're not there? It's not the same if our community of students isn't at school. So, there are some ways, maybe it's a homeroom or school assembly that you're talking to with the students. There's a number of clubs throughout schools that deal with community or volunteer activities. Maybe that's something that they would want to discuss. Student council or student government could talk about this, or maybe even volunteer hours for those that want to help spread the word, whether that's putting up posters or being able to talk about it on the school, television programs or radio or things like that, and just try to start that conversation is so great. Oh, Kari, you have it.
I just wanted to add to this. One of my takeaways from the survey with the family is we had the why aren't students come to school, and we heard, a lot about illness and mental health issues and illness, but what would make your child come to school was another one of the questions. And one of the largest responses was clubs and activities that are of their child's interest. And as student populations are evolving and changing, I just feel like it's a really good opportune time to ask your students, what are they interested in, and to make sure that you have culturally relevant clubs and sports and activities that meet the needs of all your students. And that's just a great way to get their voice into the planning for the after school activities.
Absolutely. Because while sports is a great way for, kids to feel part of the school, not everybody is into sports. So, what are other ways that we can connect with them? My daughter is in high school now, and there's so many clubs. I feel like there's a new one popping up every day compared to, in the dark ages when I went to school. So it really is great to be able to use this to connect and find ways for students to want to be at school, to stay after, to be with their friends, and really feel part of the community. It's a great point. So really, these are just a few ways that we've thought about sharing any of these items within your organization, a few ways to get started, but we'd love to just kind of open this up for questions or ideas or ways that either you have used other toolkits in your organizations or what you think the opportunity might be here. We really would love to get everybody's thoughts on how we can just continue to spread the word. Anybody?
I can jump in. Nicole, one thing
Sure.
that really struck me with all of that brainstorming is not only leveraging student organizations like student councils and student government to spread the word about the campaign, but really thinking about digging in with our kids about chronic absenteeism and attendance in general. So thinking about how those student leaders in each building can help us as leadership tackle the problem of chronic absenteeism and attendance. I think often we forget that these kids can be our best resource, and when they can message to one another in a language that makes sense to them, their teenage speak, that it might be even more impactful than when the adults in their lives are saying these particular messages about the importance of coming to school, that kind of thing. So that just struck me as we were talking about that, that it could be a really powerful instrument to advance the importance of attendance.
Absolutely.
I don't know if you can't see me probably. I'm from New Haven. Usually when we talk to the children, they say, well, my teacher misses school so much too. So that message by, lead by example is so important when we talk to the staff, and those staff meetings, we talk to them and we let them know, listen, the kids are looking, they're observing the same, the same thing that they're missing school, you're missing school. So they look at all that, and that sense of belonging, when we talk about that sense of belonging, they also want that. They also want to understand that if they have a necessity of not understanding something in the classroom, they understand that there's 25 other students in the classroom, but they have that problem that they can't understand. And if the teacher doesn't take that moment to address it because they have 20 something other students, that kid is getting frustrated. So that child is gonna, stand back and just, take that aback and not understand the subject. And that kid is not going to come the next day.
Right.
And you're going to see it. And it's so frustrating, because you see that at the beginning of the school year when we were talking to the children and doing interventions with them. And that's what they're saying. And to understand, to listen to them. Usually you're talking to parents about chronic absenteeism, but to listen to them, to let them understand, this is what chronic absenteeism is, but they're like, but this is what's happening. This is why I'm not coming.
Right.
So that it's very important.
and then to align your interventions to those reasons, right? And so you really need to get behind the data. And just saying an absence is unexcused isn't enough anymore. We need to find out why that student wasn't out, not just that they didn't get a note, but making sure that we understand the reasons and making sure that we align our interventions to help support the families. We did this a couple of years ago, even maybe then more than a couple. We did Attend Today, Achieve Tomorrow. Does anybody remember that campaign, Attend Today, Achieve Tomorrow? And we had banners designed for everyone, and we would see them on the news. Like I would see banners in front of schools when the media was visiting a school that said Attend Today, Achieve Tomorrow, and they were like graduates and stuff. So we are going to have banners and posters and things that you can print out yourself and have made. You'll have all the specs, I believe, that you'll need to have them printed. We'll also be creating some collateral material or things for you that we will send out to school districts as well, right, Caroline? And for this campaign. So there's a lot in here for you. So your feedback and input is really important. I really would love to see a family flyer that talks about how to message around health with families, right? And so I know Rachel Newer from New London shared one with us last week that we just really loved. And so would love to just make sure that we keep putting things in this toolkit that are helpful for you, but also know that, you can take them and print them. You can, if you can't print them, or you can check in with us and see if we have some for you, and let us know how we can help you get the word out. But a lot of it's digital because of a lot of our communications now are digital. And so you can use them on your social media pages and such.
One thing, and we still use that Attend Today, Achieve Tomorrow. We still use that in our welcome back toolkits for at the beginning of the school year for parents. When we go visit the parents during the summer, we have a welcome back toolkit where we give to the parents when we visit them a folder with all that information about attendance and when a kid is ill, or when to bring them to school and when not to, all that kind of information. So we do still use that Attend Today, Achieve Tomorrow. So it's important that we still use all those good resources that we get.
Yeah. The thing about this campaign that's so cool that we didn't do when we did Attend Today, Achieve Tomorrow is it has family voices in it. Like we put out the survey, and I want to thank a lot of elite districts sent the survey out to their families and thank them for that. We never expected to get 5,500 responses ever. I don't know if I'm speaking out of turn, but O'Donnell and so this has a lot of input from families in it and what is resonating with them. And so I encourage you, Attend Today, Achieve Tomorrow. And it's still a good message, but this is post-pandemic and family informed, which I think is really important to note here. It also piggybacks on, I don't know if you've seen the campaign No Matter What campaign. There was a lot of social media marketing, and it was last year, O'Donnell did this with the CSDE for McKinney-Vento, and it's a campaign for students who are struggling with homelessness or stable housing. And so that one's No Matter What. And so now we have School is Better with You, and there's a webpage for No Matter What as well with toolkit. So you might be familiar with that work as well. So what do you think, guys? A lot of work went into this over the summer. We really want to get the message out. It's exciting. I know a couple of weeks ago we saw the billboards, and we saw where they're going to be on 91 in Hartford and 95 in New Haven, right? And 84 in somewhere. And we've got these billboards that we really want decision makers to see them as well, the people who are making decisions about funding LEAP and addressing issues related to school around attendance. But we also have smaller billboards going out in high traffic areas or public transportation. I know we were talking about smaller billboards in the Norwich, New London area, Wyndham area, so that we make sure we reach those families. So it'll be interesting to see if you start to see these advertisements, because we're going to have a press release, and it's going to be featured on our front page of the CSDE website. So the governor and commissioner we'll be launching this media campaign shortly, within the next week or so. But you get the first peek of it on Talk Tuesday, of course. Does anyone have anything you've done that you want to share as far as a best practice around promoting good attendance in school that you've done this year since school started? No.
We didn't do it this year. This is Rachel from New London. But
Alright.
last year we did a poster contest here at the high school, and we were able to use the New London like foundation for grant
Mhm.
money to have a prize. And then we put the posters up all over the building. So that was just a really great way to get the kids involved in promoting attendance.
Mhm.
New Haven did all throughout the schools. We did at the beginning of the school year, we did posters of welcome back to school, posters with the new logo with our new superintendent. And we did rallies all throughout the school with book bags and back to school rallies with book bags and all books and all kinds of stuff throughout New Haven. So, and today actually we have after school 3:30 to 4:30 we have in one of the schools, Clinton School, and if I'm not mistaken, Fairhaven School, we have a too cool for school or something like that, or cool to be in school. I don't remember what it is.
Yeah.
But we have an
Yes.
activity that we're bringing the kids, all the families back to do all this kind of stuff, and with capes and superheroes and all everything to promote attendance. So it's really, really cool.
I think something we did, this is Charles A. Blango from New Haven. We did something that we have not done in years. That earlier this year, we recognized 6 schools that was low attendance last year, but reduced the attendance by 10%. So what we ended up doing was recognizing the principals and their team. So we here gave the principals and their team a plaque, just saying is that attendance matter. And we thank the principals and their team, because we realize that chronic absenteeism reduces when the leader of that particular school get involved in her team. It reduced it drastically because it became a priority. So we end up giving out 6 plaques. So if they was at 36 and they reduced it to 30, so we were so happy. So here's the plaques that we gave to
Oh, yeah.
the principals. I don't know if you can see it,
Mhm.
but
We can see it. Yeah.
these are the plaques that we made them here at our job, and just took pictures with the principals and their team, the assistant principal, the social worker, and just let them hang this in your building, just allow them do challenges, monthly challenges with each grade, and letting them know that at the each marking period, whichever grade has the best attendance, that missed the less, that we would do something special. So I just thought this was cool, and now we are at 25.6 from 36.5, and and we going down trend. So just to have everyone engaged, I just thought this was wonderful.
Mhm.
And it was handmade.
Wow, wonderful. Good job. I just really like the concept of school is better with you. It talks to the individual, and it says, like, you are part of our community. That's how we want them to feel. Like, you're part of our community. You belong here. When you go away on a school vacation for 2 weeks in the middle of the school year, that hurts the whole classroom, because school is better with you. Like, it's you're part of this community. And so I think some of our consideration around all those vacations last year, I think last year was makeup year for vacations. Hopefully this year won't be the same, but because COVID kept families from visiting their families outside of the country, we saw a lot of vacations. Hopefully this year will be better. But it's not just that it's not good for the student who leaves for 2 weeks or a month, but it's also the class misses them. They're not part of that whole. And so we want everyone to feel that school is better with you, and the teachers. It's better with you,
Yeah, definitely trying to harken back to that sense of community and belonging and a reason for kids to want to be there too.
There are some great contributions coming up in the chat too. Folks mentioning about mentoring programs, student success mentoring, student life coordinators at the high school level, and how those events that have been coordinated have really helped with the culture and climate in the building, and monthly field trips that are aligned to student interests. I mean, these are all such great ideas. I love the sharing component of these Talk Tuesdays, so you all can leverage what's working in other districts in your own context or buildings, and make it work for you.
And we know, we plan these Talk Tuesdays based on what we hear from you all. Christine and the team at CERC are really thoughtful and work really hard to make sure we're bringing topics that are of interest. And so we love this sharing, because I'm thinking we need to talk, let's do a mentoring Talk Tuesday soon, or a success mentors. So we really appreciate this, because what you are learning in your district will be so helpful to other districts. And we're hoping that this campaign will also be helpful. We generally will have a district present with a topic presenter on Talk Tuesdays, and that will start, I believe we start with that next week. We have our next Talk Tuesday. I love the monthly field trips. Next, in 2 weeks, we're going to feature another publication that CSDE is coming out with, called Improving Attendance in High Schools. It's a bright spot brief that Attendance Works has worked with 7 high schools here in Connecticut around how to improve attendance and what those high schools have found. And so we encourage you all to come to that. And we'll be hearing from, I believe, East Hartford High School will be coming to talk about how they've been able to maintain lower attendance.
This is a great
lower
point
chronic
about-
absence rates.
Oh, sorry.
Go ahead. Was someone going to say something?
I was going to say that there's a great point in the chat about utilizing local medical offices to also promote and encourage. I think we've also talked about a lot, the nurse and staff, at school, with all the questions about when do you send somebody in. We saw in our survey, there were so many questions about if somebody has the sniffles, if somebody is coughing, does that mean that they're supposed to stay home? I think everybody is a little COVID affected, right? With not knowing if somebody's coughing, they're going to think that is COVID and they shouldn't be in there, or get kind of dirty looks from other parents or things like that. So really being able to use the school nurse or kind of staff to be able to field some of those questions and be able to talk about some of those as well, to encourage people to come in.
Thank you, Nicole. I noticed, and shout out to Sarah Dusso from Norwich. Thank you for adding that to the chat. I noticed that you mentioned that you're also presenting to the Board of Ed members to encourage them to join the campaign. I think that's such a smart approach. We are talking constantly when we go out into districts, thinking about attendance as an all hands on deck approach, which we've now started hearing the commissioner and even the governor, I think, has been talking about this as it's not just the principal's job to be thinking about attendance. It's not just the members of the attendance team. And so when we think about this as an all hands on deck approach, that starts with, it includes everybody from every single level of a school community. So those community partners, the boards of ed members, et cetera, it's all part of the puzzle to get the message out to everybody that it's important to be at school and to take advantage of all the benefits of learning and socialization and mental health supports and all the rest of it. So that's a great strategy. Thank you for sharing that, Sarah. And I see Mike. I see you, Mike.
Right.
Anything you want to add, Mike, from what you all are doing in Stamford?
No, I was just going to say, everybody, this conversation we're having right here is raising awareness across the state. In Stamford, we try to use and leverage all the events that go on in the community to promote attendance. It takes everybody to do this. I'm not saying anything new.
It makes me think of using this type of language and this approach in your letters home to families when they're either considered truant or they're considered they've missed too many days of schools. Oftentimes those letters are the first time families hear from schools, right? And those letters oftentimes start with a statute, and it says, Connecticut General Statute 10-622A says that your child must come to school. Like, no, school's better with you. School's better with your child. Look at your policies and look at your letters and correspondence, and how are those engaging versus kind of pushing families away and disengaging them. So it's a really good practice to be looking at those policies with your board. And I know that sometimes takes a lot of work and a lot of time to change board policies, but it might not take so long to really adjust your letters that go home to be more supportive and encouraging to families. All right. Any other questions?
Just one.
Yes, Dr. Blanca.
I thought that was a great segue of if anyone can share pretty much the letters that they sent out, the encouraging ones. I realize that parents are more acceptable when you say how you doing or how I can help you. But I like what you said, Miss Carrie, that you saying is that it's that we need you a part of this community. It's better with you here. I mean, something that simple that even though you don't know, sometimes like me, like I told, just a quick story, I told my kids, stop playing with me. I got older kids that like to play cranks, when they come from college, and I was asking them where my glasses at. I fell asleep. And I said, stop playing, where my glasses at? So they all laughing at me. They said, they on your face. And I did not realize. And sometimes you can have the tools right there in your face. And just sometimes you've been doing it a certain way for so long, you don't ask for help for others. And I just thought it's fabulous that if anyone can share their letters, because I also I don't know who did a presentation about a month ago, but it was one school that did a presentation of rapping. The principal was there and had the kids involved. And I would love to see that video to help convey to our kids, because all of them think they rappers. And so that even if you send a video home or make it a part of something, you had a presentation. They did a wonderful presentation and all the kids was involved. I would love to see that.
I remember.
Yes.
That was Robert.
In Stanford, right?
Jamar Green at Stanford High School.
Ooh. So see, they caught some. So if they caught the adults' attention, and I'm a Frank Sinatra guy. So it just captivated my attention. So if you can share that will help me tremendously to let them be involved, to have an incentive to if they stay in school, to say that you can do a video for the next person. And I would love that. And the letters, if someone could share with me a beautiful letter, like Carrie said, I don't want to see dash section, penalized, $25 fine. Wow, I might rip the letter up myself.
We will definitely, there's definitely some guidance around writing supportive letters. I know Attendance Works has done that, and writing so parents will read it is important in plain English, plain language. Nothing to. So we will put that on our list of things to make a topic for one of these. And Charles, I'll try and get out some resources to you as well.
And we're happy to come up with some, newsletter blurbs or letter blurbs or, anything like that. If that's helpful for the team, we can absolutely do that and include it.
Yeah. Great.
Nicole, can I make a suggestion, although maybe this isn't where you want to head, but we have compiled a list of, we call them social media ideas, and they're just one-liners. And so I pick from that list and have that be the first announcement every day here at the high school. So academic success is directly related to attendance. And then we say, attend today, achieve tomorrow. And then it says, today is whatever day, blah, blah, blah. It goes on from there. And that's just the one I have on a sticky note to do next week. But so I don't know it was kind of hard to compile things because a lot of the social media tips that you find out there are really for parents, but I want things that encourage kids. And so if they're, I don't know if, again, if this fits into the scope of what you guys are doing, but if you could come up with like 30 one-liners that we could use at schools in that kind of way to throw it into a newsletter, to put a little blurb into a newsletter, or, you know, announcements like that, that would be super helpful. If you're asking for that kind of feedback, that would be something that I think would be helpful on the ground to us at schools.
Thank you. That's great. Yeah, I think part of this is not just trying to reach, you know, the parents and grandparents and caregivers and, you know, anybody from a, you know, adult standpoint. But it is also trying to make sure that we are involving the teens as well. Because those that are in high school, that they're making those decisions, you know, that they're part of that at least. So yeah, we can definitely figure out, you know, what we can do to help.
This year, New Haven has, we're trying to get our grandparents involved again. So many years we used to have those grandparents come in and be volunteers in those classrooms. And it was so hard, you know, with COVID and everything, it was so hard. And I know with volunteers, you know, they have to have background checks and all that. And it was so hard for them because, you know, they're elderly and all that. So we're trying to reconstitute that again with our elderly so that we can, you know, get them, because those the grandparents are so important, you know, in our families. Yes, you know, they're probably not on our power school and we can't talk to them because the parents don't have them on our power school, but they are part of those children's life. You know, they come and pick them up every day and things like that. So we're trying to reconstitute that again so that they can be part of those kids, come in and read to the kids, read to the class. So that part again, we're trying to get that all over again. And they are so excited when we talk to them about it. They are ready. They are so ready. So hopefully we can get that back and just be so excited about it. I'm a grandma, so I'm ready. I've done it. We've done read alouds throughout New Haven, and we put on a show. As a grandma, I'm going to all the schools of my grandkids, doing read alouds, even to the one that's in middle school. Yeah, I'm gonna embarrass her. It's okay. But guess what? Grandma's doing it. And the other kids are like, oh, your grandma's cool. Yes, I am. Well, guess what? I'm a grandma. And it's so important that I'm part of the kids' life, because what? I care. And if we can get all these people back into those schools, back into those roles again, we can get it. So those kids feel that we are here to support them.
Absolutely. And that's good for both sides, right? It's good for the grandparents, it's good for the students, it helps the teachers, you know, the school staff out. I think somebody had put in there before, right? It takes a village. It does. I mean, everybody is involved. So many kids are, you know, the grandparents play a big role in whether after school care, before school care, or just in deciding what they're doing from a school perspective. So yeah, it's super important. And that's why we always like to include them in the consideration set.
So visit the website and download the posters and the artwork and watch for banners and other flyers for families. And let us know if you're using them. I would love to hear from you. If you do use that, let me know and how it's going. Send me pictures, because we want to know that it's helpful for you. And if you have any other feedback about it, let me know. Any other things. I love the 31-liners, or you know, some things that we can say that will resonate with the teenagers, because we need to get them back in school full time. So thank you. Christine, do we have anything else here? Our schedule of Talk Tuesdays.
Yep, just our quick wrap up of just to give you guys the heads up for your calendars if you don't have them in your calendars yet. But these are our dates for upcoming Talk Tuesday. When we share the PowerPoint with you, you'll also have access to this. If you know somebody who still wants to register, interested, or spread the word, please, we have the registration link also embedded into the slide, but we could resend that out too with our follow-up. So just to keep that in mind. Quick reminders though, it is the same same Zoom link we use. As soon as you register, it's the same one every Talk Tuesday. So if for some reason you didn't get the reminder email, it went to your spam folder, we've had a lot of those questions come up. It's the same Zoom link. So if you go back to the previous one, you could just grab that and enter the room. If not, you can always contact us. But also the contact is just to give you guys a heads up, was once 10 o'clock starts on a Talk Tuesday, it's very hard for me to answer my phone or respond to emails as I'm already starting to open up Talk Tuesday. So I just wanted to give that as a quick reminder, as I had to unfortunately not answer some today. But Holly Ryan, who is our wonderful project support specialist, she is even though she's very busy, but you could contact her prior to Talk Tuesday or before the 10 o'clock start time. This is her email if you need it, if you have a registration question or an access question. I just wanted to let you know that, just so we could problem solve well in advance if we can. And just our thank you. First of all, thank you to our presenters, Nicole and her team. Thank you, Caroline. But there's also our contact information as well. Any questions that come up or anything that you would like, please reach out to us. On that note, thank you again for joining us. We do appreciate each and every one of you. And thank you for all you do.
Kari, just a great presentation, team. Can you just drop the website for the campaign in the chat again, just so that we all leave with it? Because it's great to share this
Got it
out.
right now.
Great.
Cool. And great, Steve. I'll also put that in the follow-up email. So thank you for reminding us.
Great. Thanks.
Thank you, everyone. It's great to see you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Do you want to stop recording?
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a great day.